What's up there, fam? Hey, I just wanted to get with y'all today, uh, just to bring some information to y'all about this thing that they got going viral on the internet with TikTok releasing the Bin Laden letter, and all the kids on TikTok basically uh, finding information and attaching themselves to that information and getting some enlightenment from it. They're trying to blame China on it. They want to ban China and everything, ban TikTok, all this whole stuff. But it's because of this Bin Laden letter, that they try to keep hush hush here in the United States. But Bin Laden put this letter out a long time ago. I'm not a Bin Laden supporter. I don't get what Bin Laden, killing thousands of people all over the world for whatever his cause is, this, that, and other. I ain't really getting with that. But I will say that Bin Laden wasn't really lying too much about the stuff he did. He pretty much claimed everything he did. He bombed the World Trade Center in '93, and he said he did it. The embassy, I forgot what embassy was. He said he did it. Him and his religion pretty much kept him, I ain't gonna say telling the truth all the time. I don't know about all that, but he was pretty much truthful in what his cause was. I ain't here to support him. I'm just here to say this is a letter from him where he was talking about something that happened to him and his people and why he is basically at odds or at war with the United States and other countries for what he claimed they did. So his letter pretty much spelled it out. This letter is kind of timeless today because it talks about Israel and a lot of what's going on in Israel right now. So it's really interesting. This brother I'm gonna let you listen to. This is another channel that's on YouTube, a guy that I follow, GoBlack2Africa. Good channel. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can see the whole thing and get down with his content and what he has to say. Ex-military in intelligence. He just kind of brings some insight from inside the game, inside the United States. As the things were happening, he was kind of involved with some of that. And he's going to tell you about this letter, what was said in the letter, what truths are there from his perspective, and whatnot. I thought it pretty interesting. Usually I can hear when somebody lying and when somebody ain't. I hear a lot of truth in my man across a lot of his content, for real. So just a guy that I follow that has good sense about some of the things that they're talking about in the world, in particular this one thing here, and I thought you might want to be kind of privy to it. So I'm gonna let get to it here. You see if I got everything working here. It'll be my man here. Go Black to Africa. Let y'all check him out. We'll listen to some of it. I ain't gonna listen to all of it. Like I said, I'll leave a link in here about where you can get to his content, see the full the full video of what we're talking about today, and you can form your own opinion. I would love to hear from you. Smash up the likes, leave a comment down there, subscribe to the channel, as well as get out to my brother's channel here and subscribe to his channel, GoBlack2Africa. A lot of good content, a lot of good stuff. He really talks about a lot of stuff happening in Africa, how the United States is viewed in Africa, what the United States is doing in Africa, and every other place that's doing things in Africa. But in particular, he's talking about this Bin Laden letter. So we're gonna get with him, let him speak. And like I said, I ain't gonna play it all. If you want to check it out, I'll leave a description in the comment. Description where you can get to him, his link and everything here in the comments. And like I said, if you like what you're looking at, I'd love for you to like, share, subscribe. We plan on putting out a little bit more content about various subjects, sports, political stuff, and everything going forward. But it's just one that kind of got me started here. So without further ado, I'll let you check him out, and then we'll come back and have a couple comments on it.
So I say that I do not agree with what Osama bin Laden did, but because this has disturbed our youth, and many of them don't know the history, I want to share a little bit about Osama bin Laden and why he wrote this letter. Because many people don't understand what was actually transpiring during this time. Many people don't understand that Osama bin Laden used to be a friend of America. So let's go down memory lane because also where I had an effect, almost was affected by, I worked in the Pentagon and missed that bombing or the plane going into the Pentagon. I also went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was there in Saudi Arabia from September 13th of 1990 till March 31st of 1991. And this has everything to do with while I was in an Arab nation fighting for what I thought was something, and the truth was revealed. Changed my whole perspective of what this country I was serving, who was in charge, and what was really going on that I did not know. Now, I did 20 years in the military and I retired from that U.S. Air Force. I worked around intelligence agencies, and I know intelligence. Intelligence just means information. But in saying that, there are things that I was privy to back then, held high clearances and stuff like that, that I was privy to and being able to recognize what was really going on. And when I read the letter of Osama bin Laden, though I don't agree with a lot of things that he hit on some points that really I am saying today. And many of you all who may not be probably my age, I'm 57, and who hadn't had uh, uh, great great grandparents who lived during your time, or I just had a great great uncle who just passed away, a great uncle who passed away just 3 years, 2 years. This is the third year, I think. He was 107 years old, who had stories of things of what had transpired in his life. My grandfather as well, my dad's life as well, my life as well, and I'm quite sure everybody's going to have their own experience when it comes to this country. But what Osama did was he pulled open Pandora's box of history of what America did. Now, I don't jump on bandwagons. I don't jump on sides. I don't sit here and say, oh, this guy was a saint. No, this guy almost took out my life and he took out other people's lives. But sometimes when we talk about people, when they do horrific acts, nobody would typically want to ask why. What made that guy blow up the World Trade Centers and took over planes and crashed into the Pentagon and took another plane and did all this horrific thing? Well, let's go down memory lane for you all. And I'm going to kind of make it brief, and I'm going to go just in give you a little information on Osama bin Laden, because Osama bin Laden, unbeknownst to many people, of course, he was born in Saudi Arabia. I happen to live in Saudi Arabia, fought the war in Saudi Arabia, went back to Kuwait the next following year, do 90 days or 3 months, if you will, with the military to write a Kuwaiti defense plan so that they would not have this what Saddam Hussein came in and overtake, so that they could protect themselves. We'll get into that. And we're going to get into some of these things, why these people, these women, especially these women that were on TikTok, that felt a certain kind of way, and what moved them when Osama bin Laden makes some references that were stinging to the ears of what many had a disbelief of him saying about America, which I say, damn, Erica. Put the D in front of America, capitalize the E, damn Erica. And many people don't understand when I say that because I have a past and a history. So let's check this out right here. Like I said, Osama bin Laden, he was Saudi Arabian, rich folk he came from, but he decided he was going to connect and do something as a brotherhood for the Arab nation. During the war, the Afghan and Russia's war. You see, what he did was he wanted to help and assist fight Russia. America as well was involved in this. This was from 1979 to 1989. And in this time, America supplied weapons, supplied intel, supplied finances, so that some of these Arab nations can fight off the expansion of Russia. Because of course, America does not want Russia to get big and large. So America played a part in supplying these things to the fighters who Afghanistan who were fighting off Russia. Osama bin Laden happened to be one of those groups who was there supporting on the back end inside. The war came to an end in 1989, okay, where Osama bin Laden took his group and decided that he would go ahead and create a group called Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda is known today as a terrorist group, stemmed out of the mindset of Osama bin Laden to build a brotherhood or a so-called a group that would go ahead and have the best interest of its people. But then we get into something that turned his eye against America. And this is what happened. Because of the fact that they just ended that war, Afghanistan and Russia war in 1989, Afghanistan was successful in warding off Russia from expanding. Osama bin Laden had his group, Al Qaeda, that he was building in order to have the overseers of these Arab nations or to play a part in it. Well, 1990 came about. And early in 1990, Saddam Hussein came in and overtook Kuwait. He overtook Kuwait, and it stirred up some rift between the Muslim nations. And some were against Saddam Hussein. And it happened that Saudi Arabia was one of those countries who actually had a fear of whether or not Saddam Hussein would continue his going to Kuwait and possibly sending weapons over to Saudi Arabia as well as over to Iran. Well, the good old America got involved. And at that time, when America got involved, they sent over US troops. Now, I happened to be one of them. I was in the headquarters of the Air Force, who was sent over to join in with the Army on Army's headquarters in Saudi Arabia in Riyadh. If any of y'all remember Schwarzkopf, he was a four-star general in the Army. My headquarters and his headquarters joined together. You had the Army and the Air Force together. I got to meet the guy and everything. So we housed our headquarters there in Riyadh. We was in the rear, while my job and where I worked in was to go ahead and strategically put 25 military bases in the arena or the area, so that they can bring troops in. And these troops would be supporting cast within the war. Well, like I said, from September of was August the 13th all the way through March 31st is when I was there from the first firing. I think it was in the 3rd of January until the mid of February. The war was over with. But because I was headquarters, I was still over there until the very end, when everything was made sure that everything was good. So Osama bin Laden did not like that. And we're going to get to the letter here in a second. He didn't like the fact that during this time, America got their nose in the business of Arab business. And as he began to see that America left its military bases there for a while. It left a lot of the presence of America there. He opposed that. And the second thing that happened with him was he got very upset at the fact what was happening with Israel and Palestine. Now, for those who don't know, we know Palestine or Israel was created in 1948. Hence, if you watch some of my videos, when I sit here and say that, we African Americans have a huge affiliation with that land, being part of the 12 tribes of Israel. And if you go down my memory lane, you're gonna find some very important information to see. But he was very upset at the fact that America's presence and its involvement when they established Israel, and there was a constant fighting going on over the years with Palestine and Israel. Well, he being a Muslim brother of the Palestinians didn't sit well with him. And it spewed and stirred up a lot of issues. Actually, it turned into hate because what he found out was in America's history, they had a propensity of always going into other countries, creating divisions, and always ending wars, but yet always leaving residues of bases, planting places that so that they can have a presence. So when I left the war in 1991, when I got back to the States, I was offered to go back to Kuwait. And I did, I volunteered. And I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to play a part in building the Kuwaiti defense plan. I was one of 36 people chosen to go to help write the Kuwaiti defense plan. We successfully did that, and for Kuwait to be able to defend themselves in case there was ever another attack from Iraq or maybe any other surrounding threat, there was one set in place. But here was the interesting thing during the war that I didn't mention. When I was there during the war in 1990 to 1991, the Gulf War, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I was there for both of those, okay, from the beginning to end. There was a situation that happened, several situations, but we're in the midst at headquarters, and Saddam would send Scuds over to us so that he could try to take out our headquarters. Well, he was very unsuccessful. Thank God for that. But one of our main sources of information to see how the war was going, advancing, that in the forefront, up front of the war, was CNN. To our amazement, when CNN would do reports, they weren't exactly right or true. They would send out and broadcast information to America and the world that we, who was at the headquarters, was under attack. And they would put information out that was not true, stating that we were hit or there was people injured, and we were looking at each other like, what the hell is going on? This was my first eye opener that everything that may be said in the media may not necessarily be true. We were floored because here it is. I got loved ones back home, mama, daddy, sister, brothers who are worrying, and to put information out in the public that lied and had them all worried was not the right approach. Because this pissed many of us off that how could CNN or how could information be propagated out here to the world? So we're going to get here shortly in a second about why did Osama bin Laden say what he said, because I'm going to share with you all. And for many of you all who came in, you missed when I shared me being almost affected. I worked in the Pentagon, and when that plane went into the Pentagon, I just so happened was out on appointment that day. And I'm going through memory lane so that you can rewind this, share this, so that people don't be misguided by the information out here on TikTok, because people are talking about this letter that Osama bin Laden, and yet we have to understand the mindset of why he did what he did on September 11th of 2001. So during after the war, came back, my whole mindset was freaked because there were some things that happened. Now, like I said, I went back over to Kuwait. 36 men were chosen to go there to write the Kuwaiti defense plan. Finished that up. Lo and behold, I came back. I had an assignment to go to Washington, D.C. And at that point in time is when um, I did not work, because I did two assignments. I didn't work initially there at the Pentagon. I worked for a defense intelligence agency. And working in the defense intelligence agency, interesting things happen. You see things, you're able to hear things, you're part of things. And let's just say that once my career began to go on, I began to understand what is true and what's not true. Let's say that. Now, in saying that, it came a point in my career when 2001 came up, that whole situation happened. There were things that I had to really rethink, because I was 2001. I retired in 2004, but there was buildup from all the way from 1991 all the way up through. In my career, I started to see things, and I started to see that everything that is said is not exactly true. And all information given to the public is not absolute truth, because one, the America wants to ensure that people don't run around here frantic and run around here like a chicken with its head cut off. And yet you have to make sure that you keep peace amongst the people and not tell them everything, because not everybody has a security clearance to know information. So when you see that the press release and they're up there talking and they're talking to the reporters, all that is just bull crap. It's smoke that they blow into the reporters as what's going on and stuff like that. You will never know the truth. I've had also in my career the privy of to be able to watch the world on big screen. I worked for Space Command, and I was able to work up in the um, um, Cheyenne Mountain. For you, y'all don't know, y'all could check my story. Cheyenne Mountain, which is in a cave. You got to go in a cave, and there's buildings in a cave. And I had the privilege of working on a battle action crisis team. There I sat amongst those who had higher rank than I did, but was able to play war games, was able to somebody said spell it. Somebody said NORAD. We would say NORAD, yeah. But you're going to find that I was able to be part of playing war games, seeing how the whole battlefield or the world looks. It was amazing to see that the world on these big screens, that even if a firecracker goes off, you can see it on that map, on that screen. So you are the big brother watching the world. You're able to see explosions go around. And I think really I'm stretching the truth when it comes to saying a firecracker, but any explosion from a bomb detonating, you will see that blip on a screen. Amazing technology that America has. But in saying that, I am only laying out my resume so to show you that I'm qualified to talk about this Osama bin Laden. Though I don't know him personally, but the letter has left a lot of people confused. So as I shared with about Osama bin Laden, let's get into the letter, because in his letter, he basically went on a rant. And in his rant, he shared some history of America's wrongdoings. He shared how America behaves. He shared about how America was wrong and taking the land from Palestinians with giving it to the people there that lives there now in Israel. He actually, what I want to really get into is talked about how can America claim to be such this saint, but then he rattles off all this things that America has done. So let's get into his letter. He goes on and he talks about his Allah. He's Muslim. So he's going to stand for what he believes, and that is Allah. And his wish is that even America in its misbehaving and its time after time of broken promises, wish that they could stand on what is right and wish that they could even become Muslim because they have not displayed honesty, integrity, and all the loyalty and all these various different things. But let's get into why he wrote this letter. He says, while seeking Allah's help, we form our reply based on two questions directed at the Americans. He says, why are we fighting and opposing you? Number two, what are we calling you to, and what do we want from you? Then he says, as far as the first question, why are we fighting and opposing you? The answer is very simple. Because you attacked us and continue to attack us. He further writes, Palestine, which, hold on a second, Palestine, which has sunk under military occupation for more than 80 years, the British handed over Palestine with your help and your support to the Jews who have occupied it for more than 50 years. You're overflowing with oppression, tyranny, crimes, killing, expulsions, destruction, and devastation. The creation and continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals. He further goes on and says, it is brought to us that your fabricated lies that the Jews have a historical right to Palestine, as it was promised to them in the Torah. Anyone who disputes with them on this alleged fact is accused of anti-Semitism. This is one of the most fallacious, widely circulated fabrications in history. The people of Palestine are pure Arabs and original Semites. It is the Muslims who are the inheritors of Moses's, peace be upon him, and the inheritors of the real Torah that has not been changed. So he goes on about this, his first reason why, because America has attacked them. You got to remember now what I said. He comes from Saudi Arabia, but they look at themselves as Muslim brothers. You attack one, they say you attack us all. So he goes on and saying that you all have planted this horrific uh, issue, this so-called lie in the middle of an Arab nation, which if y'all see my video, that you will even see where even Biden had said at an early age that they created Israel in order to go ahead and create a space in the Middle East, as he said, in order for a national security interest for America. So Osama continues to go on, and he says, the blood pouring out of Palestine must be equally revenged. You must, I can't read behind that right there. You must something that the Palestinians do not cry alone. Their women are not widowed alone. Their sons are not orphaned alone. He further goes on and he says about the governments, how the American governments and has infiltrated their government over there, who becomes raging wolves basically and does them unjust. He also blames the government that gives them a taste of humiliation and places them in a large prison of fear and subdual. He says further in his letter to America, you steal our wealth and our oil at paltry prices because of your international influence and military threats. This threat is indeed the biggest threat ever witnessed by mankind in the history of the world. Your forces occupy our countries. You spread your military bases throughout them. You corrupt our lands and you besiege our sanctities to protect the security of the Jews and to ensure the continuity of your pillage of our treasures. You have starved the Muslims of Iraq, where children die every day. He's talking about Iraq when the military went in and took over Saddam Hussein. It is a wonder that more than 1.5 million Iraqi children have died as a result of your sanctions, and you did not show concern. Yet, when 3,000 of your people died during 9/11, the entire world rises and has not yet sat down. So let me say this right here, family. This is nothing more than Africa, Black people in America have been saying the treatment and how even the natives in America have said, even most of the countries out here that most people don't understand, what Europe and America have done over the years, colonizing, pitting one country against another, sizing one up, dividing and conquering, putting sanctions on countries, especially if you just look up sanctions in Africa, America was involved with. And if you ain't got AI to quickly go through some of this stuff, instead of going through the internet, and you got to go through each one of these sites and stuff, just go to AI, type in what coups have America's involvement been in Africa, what part did America play in the Afghan war. Ask these questions, you're going to be amazed to find that America hands are dirty and has a lot of blood on it. And this is what shook many of the TikTokers, because they were like, we were lied to. Well, let me say to you guys out here, because you have been brought up in an American system, indoctrinated into the education, do you think for 1 second that your textbooks would ever put a black eye, if you will, on America? Do you think that the historians will ever put a blemish on America and make them seem less? No, they want to instill camaraderie. They want to instill patriotism. They want to instill your love and your stand for the American flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance, because they want you to always have a great heart for the country. But when you find out the horrific actions that have been taken by those who are the greedy, devilish people, only to try to protect their own wealth and power, is when then you see, I've been lied to. You see, when I had to find out, my life was on the line when I was over there in the Gulf War. And the only reason we were there to come find out was because when Saddam set the oil tanks on fire, is when we really went over there to go put them out. But guess who had the businesses to put them out? That's right. Some of your congressmen, Dick Cheney, and your president, who had investments, who had companies to go and put those fires out, that made billions of dollars. And because when you're invested in oil, and everybody knew the Bush family was in oil. When you're invested in oil, and you know that has a huge impact on your investments and your other congressmen and women out there, oh no, we got to do something about this. Well, how are we going to sell this to the American people? Oh, we do what we do. We conjure up lies, we feed it to the people, and then we turn around and then we go ahead and send our troops in to go ahead and protect our wealth, our power, our investments. And when I was there, and afterwards, when the beans were spilled, and I found out and did my research, I was blown away. Somebody said, "Don't forget about Colin Powell." They all had a vested interest. But check this out. As he goes on and says in his letter, he goes on And he goes through this whole thing now where he talks about because he went through each thing, but he says right here, these tragedies and calamities are only a few examples of your oppression and aggression against us. It is commanded by our religion and intellect that the oppressed have a right to return the aggression. Do not await anything from us but jihad, resistance, and revenge. Is it in any way rational to expect that after America has attacked us for more than half a century, that we will then leave her and live in security and peace? You see, this was the whole thing why people were taking sides against Palestine and Israel. Because when you don't know history, you can get fooled and taking sides. You see, when Palestine was saying we are being squeezed, we don't even get to live free. But everybody in America get to roam around, they get to drive, they get to go from state to state. Nobody has a wall around you. Nobody has a pressing you and squeezing you, and you got a wall literally going around you to stay in. I mean, wasn't that Ronald Reagan that said Gorbachev tear down the wall because he had divided the East from the West? Isn't this what the so-called European countries, the 7 European countries did? Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Belgium, Britain. Isn't there? Aren't they the ones who created this invisible borders around Africa? 54 countries. Because at first, initially, they were fighting in Africa, trying to over each other. They were warring over each other, trying to get the resources. And then they said, "Well, hold up, let's have a meeting." It's called the Berlin Conference. Go ahead and look it up. Why are we fighting against each other for Africa? Let's just go ahead and divide up. Y'all take your portions. Let's sit down and each country take your portion. Then we go in here and we'll destroy them. And this is what they did. Yes. And America was part of that. People think America was not a part of that. America was definitely a part of it. America didn't necessarily have a so-called country, but they had an investment interest. Let's not forget, America is nothing more than Europeans. Okay, the whole migration, immigrations that came over into this land that was nothing but my people, native people, if you want to call them native people, whatever that was here, all of Europe came in, the flood for newfound land that they said that came in, and yet people think that you can just let others come in and they can forget about it and not be angry. So now we can see some of the hostility that Osama bin Laden had because of how he saw how America was planning its bases and plant a European people in the midst of an Arab nation world, and yet has their military might around them. And now he sees his Palestinian brothers being squeezed and always fighting between Israel and Palestine and fighting. And then America comes in and always supporting Israel, giving them more weapons, giving them more protection, giving them all of these things. And Osama bin Laden's anger is spewing. It turns into hate. He further says, you may then dispute that all the above does not justify aggression against civilians for crimes they did not commit and offenses in which they did not partake. He further goes on and talks about the contradictions. Because if you put the shoe on the other foot, you Americans know that if our government, which is, you know what's amazing? People sit back and say America, because I saw this one TikTok that said, well, I know America's messed up, but I mean, I'm not talking about the people. I'm just saying America. America is the people. The people that you go and vote for, who make these policies, who makes these decisions, is Americans. And you take a responsibility as well. When you have, because of this democracy that you vote people in and they make these decisions, and you go, then America goes over and sends their troops to do these things. All of a sudden now, what if the bombs came over here?
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to bring this guy up, man. This is a guy that speaks the truth. He's telling you the truth right here. All you people that think America is flawless, ain't never did nothing. Every black person in the United States can tell you America ain't flawless. Every person of color in the United States can tell you America ain't flawless. They can tell you that. And if you go to other countries, listen to other countries' news. You know, Al Jazeera, BBC sometimes. Just go to these other countries and listen to their news and listen to how they talk about America. You will see that America is not flawless whatsoever. As a matter of fact, they run the biggest propaganda campaigns against their own people than probably any other country in the world. Other countries just do it all out in blatant open. America wants to smile in your face and stab you in the back. That's pretty much how they do it. You would think that I don't believe in America. Well, I believe in because I'm here and people here, and I ain't going nowhere. You know, I do believe in it, but I'm not oblivious to the fact that America and the American government has no intention of taking care of its people over its own interests. That's for sure. I'm gonna keep up with my man right here for a second. Let you check some more of him out, and then, like I said, do check him out on his channel, GoBlack2Africa. I'll leave links in the comments down there. Do check him out. Want to check him out? Check out a little bit more. Spitting straight knowledge. Let's check that out for real.
Because people are saying, well, they're bombing Palestine, and then well, Hamas is underneath these a mosque, and mosque is underneath the around these civilians and these hospitals and stuff. How would you feel if the enemy comes to America and drops bombs in areas where civilians are? It's not just the military. Why? Do you think when he mentions, and I'm going to get here, when he mentions, y'all drop nuclear bombs on Japan, not on no military base, you dropped it in the middle of the city and it devastated Japan. But let's get into it, what he continues to say. So we got to understand his hostility, his anger, his bitterness. He says, this argument contradicts your continuous repetition that America is the land of the freedom and its leaders in this world. Therefore, the American people are the ones who choose their governments by way of their own free will, a choice which stems from their agreement to its policies. Thus, the American people have chosen, consented to, and affirmed their support for their Israeli oppression of the chosen, consented to, excuse me, of opposition of the Palestinians. Let me read that again. Thus, the American people have chosen, consented to, and affirmed their support for the Israeli oppression of the Palestinians, the occupation and usurpation of their lands, and its continuous killings, torture, punishment, and expulsion of the Palestinians. The American people have the ability and choice to refuse the policies of their government and even to change if they want. He further goes on and says, the American people are the ones who pay the taxes which fund I can't see that word, it's covered up, that bomb us in Afghanistan, the tanks that strike and destroy our homes in Palestine, the armies which occupy our land in the Arab Gulfs, and the fleets which ensure the blockade of Iraq on the shores. These tax dollars are given to Israel for it to continue to attack us and penetrate our land, which I've already explained. He further goes on. The American, let's see here, okay. The American government and press still refuses to answer the question, why did they attack us in New York and Washington? If Sharon is a man of peace in the in the eyes of Bush, then we are also men of peace. America does not understand the language of manner and principles, so we are addressing it using the language it understands. As for the second question that we want to answer, what are we calling you to and what do we want from you? The first thing that we are calling you to is, he says, Islam. Now he goes on and mentions this right here. He says, the religion of the unification of God, the freedom from association partners with him, the rejection of this. Now, the reason why he said Islam, because he's comparing it to the behaviors of those who call themselves Christians. And if you call yourself Christians, do you not have a responsibility to show honor and dignity and respect? Not to share lies, not to go and divide up countries, not to put sanctions to cause starvations of women and children. These are things that America has done. But he goes on, uh, it is the religion that we call you, the seal of our previous religion. It is the religion of unification of God, serenity, the best of manners, righteousness, mercy, honor, purity, and piety. It is the religion of showing kindness to others, establishing justice between them, granting them their rights, and defending the oppressed and the persecuted. It is the religion of enjoying the good and the forbidding the evil with the hand, tongue, and heart. It is a religion of jihad in the way of Allah and Allah's word, and the religions reign supreme. And it is the religion of unity and agreement on the obedience in Allah. So he goes on, he's explaining that America has not shown that in its belief supposedly in Christianity, that it has done horrific issues along the way in its history, not only in the land of with us black folks as slaves, but across the world. He says, the second thing we call you to is to stop your oppression, lies, immorality, and debauchery that has spread among you. We call you to be a people of manner, principles, honor, and purity, to reject the immoral acts of fornication, homosexuality, intoxicants, gamblings, and trading with interest. Now, the reason why some people say, oh, he's anti-Semitic, he's anti-gay and stuff like that. He's speaking from his religion and comparing it to what Christian Bible says. This is what he's saying. You claim to be Christian country, but your Bible says you should behave in this manner, but you all promote these things. This is what he's sharing. He also says, we call you to all that of this, that you may be freed from that which you have become caught up in, that you may be freed from the deceptive lies that you are a great nation, that your leaders spread amongst you to conceal from you the despicable state to which you have reached. Now, for those who've come in, I've shared before, I'm 20 years retired military. I served America. I've been in positions and places. I've been in the wars. I've been, like I said, my life was almost taken by Osama Bin Laden. I don't support Osama Bin Laden, but I'm understanding why he did what he did. He almost took my life. It just so happened I wasn't in that area at that moment of time. I was on an appointment when I was working at the Pentagon. But hear what he says, because my thing is it's time for people to stand up for what is right. What we find is there are people who are in these powerful places that are twisting everything around us. They make lies. They've shifted even religion, Christianity. It stands for nothing that is right and moral. You have everything that is just bending. Many of you young ones out here have not lived long enough to know what it was like then and what it is like now. It always gets worse. But the further we get away from God, you're going to see more and more of these treacherous behaviors. He goes further and said, it is saddening to tell you that you are the worst civilization witnessed by the history of mankind. You are the nation who, rather than ruling by the Sharia of Allah in its constitution and laws, choose to invent your own laws as you will and desire. You separate religion from your policies, contradicting the pure nature which affirms absolute authority to the Lord and your creator. You flee from the embarrassing questions posed to you. How is it possible for Allah the Almighty create his creations, grant them power over all the creation and land, grant all the amenities of life, and then deny them that which they are most in, the knowledge of the laws which govern their lives? You are the nation that permits usury, which has been forbidden by all the religions. Yet you build your economy and investments on usury. As a result of this, in all its different forms and guises, the Jews have taken control of your economy, through which they have taken control of your media, and now control all aspects of your life, making you their servants and achieving their aims at your expenses, preciously what Benjamin Franklin warned you against. Now, you got
I'm gonna tell you something. That's real talk. All you gotta do is go out there and see who is in control. Who's in control of everything around here? You'll see. You see, it's a lot of Jewish influence around here in business and in your personal life. Look, I'm right here in Birmingham. I remember when they were gonna give Angela Davis an award at the Black Museum here, the Black Civil Rights Museum here. They were gonna give her an award, and then at the last minute they snatched that award away, and it was because of the Jewish community and what she had said against the Jewish community. The Jewish community had control of the Black Civil Rights Museum enough to snatch it away from her. They really told her about a year or so in advance that we're going to give this thing to you, waited up to the last minute, snatched it away from her just to make a mockery of her. Now luckily it was some people in Birmingham that made sure that she got her just doing what she was supposed to get. And from what I understand, I think that Jewish committee now is no longer part of the Black Civil Rights Museum. I wouldn't be surprised if they wouldn't try to close the thing down. But again, in control of a lot of things. Just like they want to say, you know, you're anti-Semitic if you say anything about Israel, say anything about Jews. They trying to control the narrative, trying to control what you're thinking, how you're thinking, what you're saying, who you're saying it to, why you're saying it, what information you're getting. They're trying to control the whole thing. That's a lot. That's not me really talking about Jewish people. I'm really not, because there's some beautiful Jewish people in the world. As a matter of fact, Angela Davis stood up for Jewish people, and she stands up for Palestine and all of the people, all of the humans in that area, including the ones in Israel right now, as well as I do for myself. I'm not against Israel as far as the people and the humans are concerned. I'm against the military faction of Israel. Yeah, the military faction that held Gaza right now in captivity, and now decide they don't want to deal with them no more and just basically carpet bombing the whole damn place. You know, oh yeah, I'm against that. Netanyahu, if you pay attention to Israel, you see a lot of people in Israel oppose the government. They oppose what they're doing. They know better. They know better. But anyway, we'll get to that. But I'm just saying, you know, it's a lot of truth to what he's saying right here. It's a whole lot of truth to what he's saying. And you really have to start to do your due diligence to dig for the knowledge. This is knowledge that was in plain sight. They used this knowledge in a way to to vilify Bin Laden. And I'm not saying that he should or shouldn't have been, but he wasn't completely telling a fib about this stuff. He was telling more truth than anything. And let's not forget, they don't want you to know the truth. Let's not forget, especially black and brown people in this country. Hey, they used to kill us if we learned how to read. Let's not forget that. They used to kill it. Why? Because the old saying, you want to hide it from black people, put it in a book. Well, that's because they kill you if you ever tried to read that book. Hey, that wasn't even 100 years ago. That's barely 100 years ago. So again, I want you to just soak in the information, do your due diligence, do your research, and go back and find out all the information about this as you can. Just because they're talking about it on TV, oh, Hamas this and all these people vilified. Hey, don't believe everything you heard. Don't believe everything you hear now. Because you know, they don't tell you nothing for your benefit. Hey, especially if you're black or brown around here. But for that fact, I don't care what color you are, even white. You ain't up that 2% in that power of the government in their interest. They didn't tell you nothing. Oh, your benefit. You are just shadow. They using you. So anyway, we'll keep it up. Keep it up with my man right here. GoBlack2Africa is who this is. Again, links will be in the description. Please follow him. He got a lot of good nuggets. He even has a map. And real quick before I get back to him, he has a map of the Palestinian state. He has a map of that Palestinian state that shows the land of the Jews. You gotta go back and check his stuff, man. He pretty deep, but it show you that before Israel was there in the whole 9 yards. Go back and check that out, man. This is real interesting. He got a lot of good information. I got some other folks that have some good information too, and I'm gonna get those guys to you. But I thought this guy was saying something really interesting, especially in wake of all this stuff that's going on TikTok. Let's get back to him.
research that and see what Benjamin Franklin had to say. But he goes off with what people are going to say this is anti-Semitic views. But he's sharing what he sees, knows, experience. He further says you are a nation that permits the production, trading, and usage of intoxicants. You also permit drugs and only forbid the trade of them, even though your nation is the largest consumer of them. You are a nation that permits acts of immorality, and you consider them to be pillars of personal freedom. You have continued to sink down this abyss from the level to level until incest has spread amongst you, in the face of which neither your senses of honor not nor your laws objects. Who can forgive your President Clinton's immoral acts committed in the official Oval Office? Y'all remember President Clinton. So he's bringing up some things that how the government is, how America's system is. He's bringing up some of these immorality things they have done. You know, I've said this on many of my videos. America's hands are not clean and it's dirty. And it's a tragic what they're doing over in Africa, what they're doing in some of these other countries that many people just don't even know. Now, I'm not saying everybody in this world is better than America, because we're talking about man. What I'm saying is that for some reason, our people in America, of course, and I understand it, are blinded to what's really going behind the scenes. It was a hard pill for me to swallow, the red pill that I decided to swallow to go deep and really look into this whole thing about America. Not only what I looked into what they did against Black people, but also looking into history of what current events were happening when I was in the military and what the jobs I was holding, looking into why were these things happening? Why were we sending our troops over here? What was these clashes or these operations that were going on, and looking at it in a different total eye than what was really pumped to the society, and coming to my own conclusion. He further says here in his letter, he mentioned about President Clinton. Yes, mentioned about President Clinton in the Oval Office. Y'all remember Monica Lewinsky, when President Clinton was right there in his office, and she went underneath the table and did her biz, and he lied to the public about it, and they shamed her, and they raised him up like he was the greatest thing ever. After that, you did not even bring him to account. Other than that, he made a mistake, after which everything passed with no punishment. Is there a worse kind of event for which your name will go down in history and remembered by nations? You are a nation that permits gambling in all its forms. The companies practice this is as well, resulting in the investments becoming active and the criminals becoming rich. I did that because it's amazing. I see it now on all of these commercials and everything commercialized about gambling. It's on the internet now. It's on the commercials on TVs during sports and all that right there, just taking more people's money. But he made mention of that. You are a nation that exploits women like consumer products or advertising tools, calling upon customers to purchase them. You use women to serve passengers, visitors, and strangers to increase your profit margins. You then rant that you support the liberation of women. You are a nation that practices the trade of sex in all its form, directly and indirectly. And y'all know all the commercials, everything. It could be a woman, it could be a commercial about burgers, and they go exploit a woman up there in a bikini and eating a cheeseburger. And it's amazing that women don't get in an uproar over that. It's amazing that how women really are used as sex toys and on TV like they're nothing. He has a point. We can't argue that. You are a nation that practices the trade of sex in all forms, directly and indirectly. Giant corporations and establishments are established on this under the name of art, entertainment, tourism, and freedom, and other deceptive names you attribute to it. And because of all of this, you have described in history as a nation spreads diseases that were unknown to man in the past. Go ahead and I can't read that word. Go ahead and bargain the nations of man that you brought them AIDS as a satanic American invention. It's true. It was true. America was the one who created an HIV. And they went into Africa as a testing ground for HIV. That is in history. And they put it on the African monkey, which is so far the truth, not the truth. They also, when you want to talk about whether it's these chemical agents or whether it's um, the Ebola, the Wuhan virus, it was proven. Fauci, who had a hand in with over in China in creating this virus, they released it. But nobody go, oh my God, America can never do this. America can never do this. Keep living. Just keep living, y'all young people. And when you do get and take the red pill, that means then, you know what red pill is, right? Everybody knows red pill. Go watch, Matrix. Gosh, that was an awesome movie to watch, Matrix. Because if you're ready for the truth, okay, take the red pill. If you want to continue to live your life, go ahead and take the blue pill and continue to act like nothing ever happened. He continues to say this right here. And because of all of this, no, you have destroyed nature with your industrial waste and gases more than any other nation in history. Despite this, you refuse to sign the Kyoto Agreement so that you can secure the profit of your greedy companies and industries. Your law is the law of the rich and the wealthy people who hold sway in their political parties and fund their election campaigns with their gifts. Behind them stand the Jews who control your policies, media, and economy. That which you are singled out for in the history of mankind is that your use used your force to destroy mankind more than any other nation in history, not to defend principles and values, but to hasten to secure your interests and profits. You who drop a nuclear bomb on Japan, even though Japan was ready to negotiate an end to the war. How many acts of oppression, tyranny, and injustice have you carried out, O callers to freedom? Let us not forget one of your major characteristics, your duality in both manners and values, your hypocrisy in manners and principles. All manners, principles, and values have two scales, one for you and one for the other. The freedom and the democracy that you call to is for yourself and is for white race only. As for the rest of the world, you imposed upon them your monstrous, destructive policies and governments, which you call the American friends. Yet you prevent them from establishing democracies. When the Islamic Party in Algeria wanted to practice democracy and they won the election, you unleashed your agent in the Algerian army unto them and to attack them with the tanks and guns, to imprison them and to torture them. A new lesson from the American Book of Democracy. Now, I've said this before, family. For those who's come in, I've served in the military. And it's hard to hear this when you can't believe, oh my God, especially me. You mean to tell me I served in this? My hand was to this back then. That was in 1990 and I had to go search for the truth. And when I looked at the history, when you swallow the red pill, it breaks you. And this is what happened to the young TikTokers who was like, oh my God, somebody has to talk to me. Somebody has to explain some things to me, because this letter right here, it left them shook. But what he's sharing is a hard truth in some aspects. I'm not going to get into his religious beliefs or his rant on those people in Israel. I've already done enough videos on sharing the fact of the history of how Israel was established in 1948. But the thing about it is, how does it make you feel when you plant a white European people in the middle of an Arab country who then begins to fight against your own people? Should you stand by and just, that's like America bringing in, or China bringing in, and has a powerful arm who might bring in Chinese in America, and then they have clashes with Americans. And then you expect that for the Americans not to be mad. This is what he's saying. He goes on and says, uh, your policies are prohibiting and forcibly removing weapons of mass destruction to ensure world peace. It only applies to those countries which you do not permit to pose such weapons. As for the countries you consent to, such as Israel, then they are allowed to keep and use such weapons to defend their security. Anyone else who you suspect might be manufacturing or keeping these kinds of weapons, you call them criminals and you take military actions against them. You are the last ones to respect the resolutions and the policies of international law. Yet you claim to want to selectively punish anyone else who does these. Can't read that over there. Israel has for more than 50 years been pushing UN resolutions and rules against the wall with the full support of America. Yeah, okay, all right. Yet you claim to want to selectively punish anyone else who does them. Israel has for more than 50 years been pushing UN resolutions and rules against the wall with the full support of America. The wall is Palestine because you know they got the wall around them. They got the wall. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. A wall. America went to Russia and said, Gorbachev, tear down the wall. Can you imagine living in a wall? Can you imagine now? Come on, y'all. A wall. We're talking a freaking wall. Many people don't even know that over in Palestine. Palestine, whether it's the West Bank, whether it's the Gaza Strip, there's a literal wall that goes around them. That America and Britain wind up putting those people there in Israel, those right there from the Khazarians, right there in Israel. And then say, we're going to go ahead and just separate y'all but we're going to put y'all around the wall. Why was he angry and mad at that? Do you think he should be mad when he watches his brothers, his Islam brothers, put behind a wall, and then supplies are filtered in little by little? This is why he was upset and mad. This was his letter to America, to the Americans, so that Americans could know and see exactly what America was doing. He further goes and says, for the war criminals, which you censor and form criminal courts for, shamelessly ask that your own are granted immunity. However, history will willingly forget the war crimes that you committed against the Muslims and the rest of the world. Those you have killed in Japan, Afghanistan, Somalia, Lebanon, Iraq will remain ashamed that you will never be able to escape. It will suffice to remind you of your last war crimes in Afghanistan, in which densely populated innocent civilian villages were destroyed. Bombs were dropped on mosques, causing the roofs of the mosques to come crashing down on the heads of them. Muslims praying inside. You are the ones who broke the agreement with the Mujahideen when they left Kunduz, bombing them in Janji fort and killing more than 1,000 of your prisoners through suffocations and thirst. Allah alone knows how many people have died by torture at the hands of you in yours. I can't read at the bottom. Yours. Your planes remain in the Afghan skies looking for anyone remotely suspicious. You have claimed the vanguard of human rights, and your Ministry of Foreign Affairs issues annual reports containing statistics of those countries that violate any human rights. However, all these things vanish when the Mujahideen hit you, and you then implement the methods of the same documented governments that you used to curse. In America, you captured thousands of Muslims and Arabs, took them into custody with neither reason, court trials, nor even disclosing their names. You issued newer, harsher laws. Now, Muslims remember that. And they say it was the acts of security of America when they bombed when Osama bin Laden bombed, the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon and all that right there. You know, all Muslims felt the heat. They had to go through a scrutiny. That's what he's talking about. What happened in Guantanamo is a historical embarrassment to America and its values, and it screams into your face, you hypocrites. What is the value of your signature on any agreement or treaty? What we call you to, thirdly, is to take an honest stance with yourself, and I doubt you will do so, to discover that you are a nation without principles or manners, and that the value and principles to you are something which you merely demand from others, not that which you yourselves must adhere to. We also advise you to stop supporting Israel. He wants Israel out of his brotherland. That's what he wants. And to end your support of the Indian in Kashmir, the Russians against the Chechens, and to also cease supporting the Manila government against the Muslims in southern Philippines. I think it's Philippines. Maybe Philistine, I'm not sure. We also advise you to pack your luggage and get out of our land. We can't read that. For your goodness, guidance, and righteousness. So do not force us to send you back to as cargo in coffins. Sixthly, we call upon you to end your support of the corrupt leaders in our countries. Do not interfere in our policies and methods of education. Leave us alone, or else expect us in New York and Washington. We also call you to deal with us and interact with us on the basis of mutual interest and benefits, rather than the policies of subdual, thefts, and occupancy, and not to continue your policies of supporting the Jews because that this will result more disastrous for you. If you fail to respond to all these conditions, then prepare for the fight with the Islamic nation, the nation of monotheism that puts complete trust on Allah and fears none other than him. Let's see. He says, he first says, let's see. He goes on into wanting America to subscribe to Islam, as though that Islam would be a better fit, being that America don't stand on Christianity in what it says in the Bible. So as I said before, I don't support Osama bin Laden in what he did, but I understand his position in how he cannot swallow the fact that if a country claims to be following the Bible and it mentions all of these things that he had made and had put in his letter, and yet he sees time and time again that they don't follow it, then he sees that they have immorality. They have no morals. They have no respect, no dignity. They have no integrity. And this is why he says that this is why they can continue to do these horrific things across the globe. And so I wanted to just do this right here for people to be able to, one, understand the history of Osama bin Laden. How did he get to the point? Because we always think that just because Hamas bombed Israel, many people don't know the history. You're thinking, oh my God, they bombed Israel. That's so wrong. That's bad. And it is bad. But when you live behind a wall and you feel locked in, your people feel like slaves or enslaved, or that you are just behind a wall that you can't even enjoy space, it's going to explode.
I just want to bring y'all a little bit of what my man talking about. He bring up a lot of good points. Look, this is Osama bin Laden that I'm talking about in his letter. Bring up a lot of good points, especially making hindsight 2020. Here we are in this day and age looking at what Israel is doing, and a lot of the things that he says still ring true. Look, America does not have their hands clean on this one. Used to carpet bombing folks. Nagasaki, Japan is one example. How about in the United States? Here soon it's going to be Thanksgiving, and in Thanksgiving we celebrate a day that was marked by the Piqua Massacre. The Piqua Massacre. You should go look that shit up if you don't know anything about it. The Piqua Massacre. And then that was where they just were a group of black Indians was trying to help some pilgrims, and they decided, oh, we don't want the help, we want to just take everything you got. Went up there, firebombed all of them, killed everybody, and then to try to make it right for themselves, they want to go commemorate a day called Thanksgiving. They made it a law. Hey man, I ain't make that up. You can pull it up on Google. You go to the library and get it. It is in history. And you know that this government that we have here, they don't keep their hands clean on anything. They do all kinds of crap to people and been doing it, especially the last 500 years or more. other countries in here as well. Chinese was slaves here too, building the railroads all out west. It's all kinds of crap going on. Don't think that this ain't some more crap. Don't think that the news is telling you the truth. They ain't told you the truth yet. Look at the election. They didn't tell you the truth then. Huh? We got a gangster trying to be president again. A gangster. Straight gangster. Trying to be president again. And he's showing you that he probably gonna mess around and be president again. Because gangsters gonna win in the United States. They gangsters themselves. Anyway. I just brought this to you so that, as my man say, you can take it for yourself or you could kick it to the side. That's my man. My man right here, his saying there on GoBlack2Africa. I want to give him all the props. Not trying to disrespect nothing about his channel. Love his channel, love his content, love everything he brings to it. This is just something that he caught, that he said he was talking about, and I said, you know, this is something that my viewers, my folks, might not even know about. Let me expose you to this young man. Great. And I ain't young man, he older than me, so he only about a couple years, about 1 year actually. But you know, good information. You gotta have good, clean information in order to make a sound decision about what is supposed to happen. Like my man said, he was in the military at one point. He had to come out, get some information, take the red pill. I've been taking the red pill since I was a teenager. And anybody know it. I was in a rap group. My name was X in that bad boy. I was not playing. But the whole time, all I do is learn, and learn more. Today's events, the events that are happening around the world today, is just a repeat of what has been happening. The United States been doing this all over the world. If you listen to other people's news, other countries' news, you will hear what the United States does. So, you know, I'm not a hater so much of the United States. I am, I guess, of the government, because I do, as they worthy of being hated. But Turtle Island, America, yeah, I'm down. I might bring it here because we're gonna shoot. You already know what that is. But just some good information. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll bring you some more information as I find it. I'll expose you to some more of the good information, good people out here on the internet that give you some of this stuff. Just stay tuned to XO live streaming. And again, check out my boy right here, GoBlack2Africa. I'll leave the links in the description. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you get, if you're on YouTube, get that notification bell to all so you can get all the content that we have. We got probably 800 videos about different topics and different things that we're probably gonna cover. Haven't been live here as of late. I'll explain that later, but we're gonna try to get a little bit more live as we go. But anyway, love you, fam. Peace.